The manga begins with a scene in a coffee shop where a high school bartender and a retro-loving girl are having coffee. This scenario indicates that the romantic comedy is about to begin. In the subsequent scene, a girl named Riku listens to rumors spread by her high school classmates that Yamanaka, a 5th grader, recently got a cool haircut, and that Moriguchi-senpai, a second-year student, has changed recently. The other girls make a big deal of it and ask Riku's opinion. When Riku asks her friend why they are so interested in her perspective, her friend replies that it's because Riku has never had a boyfriend. Her friend recommends that they should pick attractive boys to spark her interest. She emphasizes that it's not as if she's uninterested. But then Riku notices a boy sitting alone at the table beside hers. Nervously, she reveals the name of the boy, Fushimi, who is seated quietly at the table next to her. Her friend notices that he doesn't seem friendly. Another boy walks into view holding a phone and asks Fushimi if he wants to join in the game, but Fushimi responds indifferently, saying he isn't interested. The boy doesn't seem surprised by Fushimi's response, as it's the same as always. However, Riku's friend tells her that the boy appears quite attractive. Riku thinks it's true that his lack of social skills is what makes him interesting. In an alternate scene, Fushimi is seen alone in a crowded area, behaving strangely and leaning his ear against a tree, among other traits that set him apart while still being unassuming. When Riku finds something in her backpack during class, she suddenly realizes that maybe she is a weirdo. She reflects on this and concludes that she probably isn't your typical girl. When her classmate calls her name, she gets startled. They invite her to join them at the cafe in front of the station. Unfortunately, she apologizes and says she won't be accompanying them because she has something she needs to do. As she walks along, she engages in an internal dialogue that she doesn't enjoy those cute cafes that serve freshly made crepes. Suddenly, she notices a charming vintage coffee shop. It is housed in an old, fascinating building, and the retro vibe it exudes is something she can't get enough of. The shop was built during the Taisho era and has recently been renovated. Even the exterior of the cafe exudes an aroma of rich coffee. This coffee shop is completely hidden and secluded, which Riku is obsessed with because she loves old-fashioned places and feels like an old granny while standing there. Initially, she considers sharing her hobby with others, but she realizes it's impossible to connect with them and she doesn't need to worry about whether they like her interests. After reflecting on her thoughts, she opens the cafe door and is amazed by the beautiful old Western-style interior. It is less crowded, but she can still hear the soothing conversation between the bartender and a barista. The rich smell and sound of freshly brewed coffee envelop her, stunning her as it fills the entire shop. A bartender approaches to take her order and asks what she would like. Riku thanks him and is shocked to realize that he is none other than Fushimi, the boy she likes and has a crush on. However, he doesn't recognize her, so she tells him she's his classmate. He ignores her and asks for her order. She embarrassedly answers a blend. Riku is surprised to see him working there. She is uncertain about what she should do and worries about what he might think of her being there alone. Suddenly, a customer thanks the boy for listening to his rambling and compliments the delicious coffee he enjoyed. The bartender warmly welcomes him with a smile. Riku silently watches everything and reminisces about the day she saw him at school, realizing that this is the first time she has seen him smile. As he pours her coffee, she notices how different he is here compared to how he is at school. He looks at Riku and asks if she would like to sit on the bar stool, which surprises her. She hesitantly asks him if it's okay. He wonders why she's being so polite. The conversation begins when Riku asks if he works there. He replies that the establishment belongs to his family and is managed by his father, who due to back pain can't work, so he's watching the store in his father's place. He mentions that the shop is open on weekdays after school. Fushimi then asks why she is there, noting that he doesn't typically have customers his age. She remains silent, expecting a strange response, as she enjoys exploring vintage places as a hobby. He offers her coffee. She describes it as having just the right balance of bitterness and acidity. He tells her that it is their specialty, as they create a blend that soothes everyone, regardless of who they are. Fushimi explains that once they get to know a customer slightly better, they serve them a coffee that suits them. The next time he serves her coffee, and she enjoys it better than the current cup, it means he's come to understand her better. He admits that he's not great at talking, but he's a good listener and is open to Riku starting a conversation with him. After hearing this, she realizes that his presence here is different from at school. During their conversation, she blurts out that she genuinely likes it and quickly clarifies that it's not what he might be thinking. She explains that while the other girls around her are always stylishly dressed and frequent cute cafes, she's the only one with an unpopular hobby, so she is content with her own company. She was drawn to this shop, and today she mustered all her courage to visit this place she had always thought looked quite nice. The boy was taken aback by her sudden confession and responded that he also enjoyed these unpopular things. Riku was surprised and asked him if it was true. He confirmed that he liked to visit shrines and temples. Excitedly, she says, seeing wood used for the deceased gets their adrenaline pumping. After hearing this, he chuckles, leaving her astonished. He calmly remarks, "So this is what it's like to talk to Yanagi." This brought her so much joy that she asked if she could visit again if it wouldn't bother him. He replied that she was welcome to come if it made her happy, but asked her to keep his workplace a secret, as others would tease him if they found out. When she asked if anyone else knew, he assured her that she was the only one. Remembering conversations with her friends about Fushimi being difficult to approach and unfriendly, she realized that he was incredibly kind. She arrived home and leaped onto her bed with a thud, reflecting on how well her day had gone. She wondered if meeting Fushimi in such an unexpected place could be considered destiny. Recalling her earlier conversation with him, she timidly savored each detail, feeling happy with the realization that she loved him after all. She resolved to talk to him at school the following day and then went to bed. When she arrived at school the next day, her friends noticed her nervousness, but she brushed off their concerns. She realized Fushimi had not yet arrived, and suddenly he walked into the classroom, greeted by his friends. Riku summoned all her courage and finally greeted him, only to be surprised when he ignored her and walked past. She felt intensely embarrassed as her friends watched in silence. Riku experiences flashbacks of Fushimi, where he converses with her and invites her to visit his shop, leading her to believe that he understands her when the reality is different. In the following scene, she appears extremely distressed and disappointed as she rests her head on the desk. Riku mutters incoherently, prompting her friends to inquire if she is okay. One of her friends expresses disbelief at Fushimi's actions. In an attempt to lift her spirits, a friend asks if she wants her to confront Fushimi about his insensitive behavior. However, she considers the possibility that it might be a misunderstanding and decides to give it another try. She swiftly approaches him during PE class and invites him to join their team due to the odd number of players. Fushimi declines, stating that they were not instructed to pair up. Upon hearing this, Riku becomes visibly shocked and drops the football. He completely disregards her attempts to stop him and proceeds on his way. Despite her efforts to intervene, he pays no heed to her. She loses hope and collapses to the ground with a loud thud. She finds herself in shock, wondering if she has done something wrong or if their relationship isn't as close as she thought. She contemplates giving up, feeling that no matter what she does, she always faces rejection from him. Her friends advise her to leave him alone and stop wasting time on him. Despite her conflicting thoughts, she finds herself outside the cafe where he works. Unsure if it is appropriate to be there at that time, she grapples with what to do. The aroma of coffee draws her toward the cafe, but she suddenly realizes she is there for another reason. Taking a deep breath, she prepares herself for the worst. Just as she is about to open the door, it swings open from the other side, revealing Fushimi himself and startling her. He seems surprised to see her and invites her inside, assuming she is there for a coffee. She agrees, wondering why he is acting normal, suspecting that he has no choice but to let her inside as she is a customer, and he is trying to retaliate for their earlier conversation. He focuses intently on the burner, where he has placed a pot of water for her coffee. She wonders if he might have added something strange to her drink, or if now might be the best time to apologize. As she initiates a conversation with him, they both apologize simultaneously. Riku is surprised by his apology. He urges her to listen to him first. He explains that he had a bad attitude at school because he didn't know how to react when surrounded by students his age. She suggests that perhaps he is shy, but he insists that's not the case. She realizes it was a misunderstanding and completely different from what she thought. Riku expresses that she believed he harbored hatred toward her, but she feels relieved to learn that he doesn't. He responds by acknowledging that his actions often lead to misunderstandings. He admits that he thought she wouldn't visit the shop again due to his behavior, but he is happy that she came. Upon noticing her sudden discomfort, Fushimi inquires about her well-being. She reassures him that nothing is wrong and expresses her desire for a cup of coffee, to which he encourages her to have it before it cools down. Riku happily drinks her coffee, realizing the sweet smell and mild richness come from Colombia. She asks if that's the case, and he replies that she's right. He explained that to give it more fragrance, he included some Brazilian beans. Leaning closer to her face, he wonders if she can tell the difference, to which she replies, "I can't tell." Fushimi then jokes, saying maybe he didn't add enough beans. Riku is surprised to encounter Fushimi. After exchanging greetings, she inquired about his unusual choice of route. He explained that he had finished cleaning the store earlier than usual and decided to take a leisurely walk. Fushimi initiated the conversation, sharing his idea of adding hot cakes to the menu and explaining the difference between hot cakes and pancakes. While walking, they come across a temple with long stairs and a beautiful exterior, and she suggests taking a short break there since they still have some time. Inside the temple, they both offer their prayers. Fushimi praised for the prosperity of his shop with a calm expression, while Riku praised for a better harmony between them, hoping to impress him more than before. As he silently admires her while praying, she remains unaware that he is watching her. On the following page, they proceeded to explore other areas of the temple. She confided in him that she felt a surge of energy. As they came upon a large spherical rock, she mentioned her belief that touching it would make their prayers come true. He was taken aback by the sight of Riku embracing the massive tree at the center and wishing for longevity, estimating its age to be around 1,000 years. She apologized for her morning exuberance. She then suggested that they should depart at that moment. He chuckled and enjoyed the fun of having her by his side, expressing his intention to touch the tree as well. She felt grateful that her wish was granted so swiftly. As they made their way to the school, Riku believed he was gradually opening up to her, which made her extremely happy. While walking down the street, she noticed students from their school and became nervous. Unconsciously, Fushimi took a step back and departed. Riku's friend mentioned the whipped cream pancakes she had at the cafe, and she shared a photo with them, suggesting that they should try them too. She agreed hesitantly. However, in her mind, she debated between a charming cafe and a quaint old coffee shop. It was clear that she would always choose the old coffee shop for its rich aroma of coffee and quieter atmosphere. She mentions that she plans to visit Anemone today and then politely leaves her friends. While walking in the corridor, she encounters Fushimi and initiates a conversation with him, which leads her friends to speculate that she is getting closer to him despite his previous behavior toward her. Later in class, her friends inquired if something was going on with Fushimi because they observed them conversing in the hallway. She explains that they simply bumped into each other and bonded over their mutual love for books. One friend asks if he previously ignored her, while another warns her to stay away due to his aloof nature. She insists that it's not as it seems and is taken aback as her friends gaze at her, stating that he may come off as brusque, but they can have a good conversation with him. Sitting in the coffee shop, she feels doomed while Fushimi quietly observes her. She confides in him about her harmful delusions and realizes she doesn't know what to think anymore, expressing her desire to prevent such incidents. He suggests it might be better if she didn't try to talk to him at school. Hearing his words, she suddenly gets up, saying that her goal is to get along better with him. He says he won't forget about her and she should also spend time with her friends. She starts crying, surprising him with her actions. He suddenly becomes aware that the door is open and greets the newcomers. Riku turns her head to see who has entered and is horrified to find her friends at the entrance. The next scene began in the classroom, where students were chatting. Suddenly, one of Riku's friends declares she is hungry and craving something sweet. Another friend suggests they visit the French toast shop near the department store. They inquired if Riku would like to join them, but she declined, mentioning that she already had other plans. They asked if she was working a part-time job because she had seemed busy lately, to which she responded that it wasn't the case. At the cafe, Riku's friend is in shock, commenting that Riku seems to be going through a rebellious phase, while sitting in front of a plate of French toast. Another friend expresses a different opinion, feeling that their relationship with Riku had worsened. Suddenly, one of them shouts that Riku's behavior might be due to her having a boyfriend, and they both agree. She questions, is there anyone around her? She had never really been talkative with other boys except. They suddenly realized Fushimi. She screamed that she wouldn't allow Riku to have a relationship with him, and the other one asked if she was Riku's mother or something. She explained her reason, noting how he ignored her when she greeted him and how she always considered him to be unfriendly or maybe worse than that. The other friend says Riku did have an interest in Fushimi. Her friend opposes the relationship, saying she wouldn't allow it, to which she responds that she wasn't her mom. She expressed concern that Fushimi would end up hurting Riku and felt the need to intervene. In school, Riku's friend expresses that she's still in shock. She remarks on how parents feel when rejected by their child, and her other friend suggests that she now understands how it feels to be Riku's parent. She realizes that her interest in Fushimi-kun is quite evident. They spot Riku in the corridor and decide to follow her to see what she is up to. They observe Riku walking into a secluded area and decide to spy on her. It appeared she had a regular place to go after school. They realized she would be upset if she discovered them spying. Riku entered a quaint coffee shop with a creak of the door. The onlookers notice the old and quaint Anemone coffee shop and wonder what business Riku has there. Riku's friend isn't happy with the idea of Riku being in a place with no other customers besides Fushimi. Deciding to take action, they opened the door and were shocked to see Riku and Fushimi, causing their friend to scream and Riku to become visibly surprised. Riku expresses surprise upon seeing Kana and Hinata. She asks them why they were there while crying. Kana grabs Fushimi's collar and demands to know why Riku is in tears. Riku tried to intervene, and Hinata, shocked by the scene, also tried to stop Kana. Fushimi looked bewildered and asked what was happening all of a sudden. Kana screamed at him not to act ignorant and accused him of being the type of person who made Riku cry, saying that he didn't deserve Riku's affection. Riku explained that he wasn't to blame. She had sought his advice because she believed that both of them had started to hate her, and he only tried to help. They both felt embarrassed as she apologized for her behavior, acknowledging that she had been unkind and spoken hurtful words at school. They hugged and expressed regret for their selfishness, assuring her that they would never hate her. Hinata whispers that if she is dating, she should inform them, but Riku declines. Amusingly, Fushimi commented from the bar, asking if they were Riku's guardians. Hinata inquired Fushimi about the location, noting his attire. He affirmed that they were in his parents' cafe. She questions Riku about whether she intentionally came there, knowing he worked there. Riku responds that she enjoys quiet coffee shops and old buildings and has long wanted to visit this shop. In addition, she has a fondness for shrines, temples, antique art, and bonsai. She explains that she avoided discussing these interests because she doesn't have any cute hobbies. Riku was stared at for a while, and she was told that it was perfectly fine to have that hobby. They expressed that it was wonderful that she liked those things and that only great girls appreciated such interests, and it was good for her to have a different taste. Riku was asked if she would like to bring them along the next time she visited a shop, and she agreed. They both carefully wandered around the shop and observed its antique items. Fushimi, with a warm smile, addressed her, pointing out that it's great that she made up with her friends. She watches him lovingly and thanks him. Riku enters the coffee shop with a cheerful demeanor, and Fushimi greets her warmly. Upon ordering her usual coffee blend, she mentions that due to an extended committee meeting, she is late. A customer compliments Fushimi on the delicious coffee he has served as always, and he thanks the customer for the kind words. He mentions that Fushimi resembles his father and that even the coffee tasted similar to his, to which he chuckles and says he isn't even close to him. He expresses that it is wonderful to support their parents and inquires if he is ensuring that he enjoys time with his friends from school. He further asks if Fushimi has a girlfriend, which shocks Riku. Fushimi answers that he doesn't have one. He offers to introduce Fushimi to a pretty girl if he's interested. Riku expresses concern about how his girlfriend would handle his love life and if she will be okay with him being friends with other girls. She nervously asks him if he wants a girlfriend, and he replies that he is not interested in that kind of stuff. Revealed, Riku tells him that she won't be able to visit the coffee shop if he gets a girlfriend. He replies, assuring her that it will be a shame if she stops visiting. She thinks she loves him and mentions that she truly enjoys the coffee at the cafe, so it will be heartbreaking if she can't come there. Fushimi responds by saying that sometimes he wishes to socialize with someone, just like everyone else does. To his surprise, she stands up and states that if he's okay with it, she is willing to hang out with him anytime. He is taken aback and asks, "Really?" In the following scene, Riku approaches her friends and informs them about her date, expressing her indecision about where to go. She downplays the outing to simply strolling around and admiring shrines. She states that Fushimi doesn't have friends, so he is looking forward to the outing, and she is determined to ensure that he enjoys himself. One of her friends becomes emotional, while the others tease her, referring to her as a mother and offering her a tissue. She advises her not to visit places with few people and to stay clear of the Love Hotel near the shrine. Riku curiously asks what her friends do when they go out with their boyfriends. They exchange startled glances and seem perplexed by her question. They contemplate sharing something strange, but then decide against it. concerned about Riku's upbringing. One of them assures Riku that they didn't engage in anything unusual and explains that they simply bought movies from the store and watched them on DVD at home. The following day at school, Riku informs her friends that she plans to inquire Fushimi about his preferred destination. While her friends observe her conversing with Fushimi, one of them mentions that he remains aloof and unkind to her at school, while the other entertains the possibility that he might be shy. From behind, someone speaks to them and they notice two boys standing there. The person mentions that he always sees them together and asks if they are dating. Her friends comment that he is the worst of the boys. Riku dispute their claims, insisting that things are not as they say. However, the boy persists in telling Fushimi that he is not as disinterested as he appears and is quite rebellious. He questions the length of their relationship and how far they have gone. He singles out Yanagi, mentioning that she is popular among boys due to her petite stature and well-endowed chest and thighs, causing her unease. He asks Fushimi if Riku makes him feel incredible. Kana stands angrily, while Hanan asks her to wait. He tells Riku to switch over to him, embarrassing her while she watches in silence. Fushimi asks him to stop and not be rude to his friend, adding that they are making assumptions about her. He tells them that they have been a nuisance for them for a while and should realize that and leave them alone. The following scene features Fushimi preparing coffee and carrying out his regular tasks. Riku arrives. He inquires why she's smiling. While holding the steaming cup of blended coffee, she replies that she remembered something pleasant. She admires him and realizes that she genuinely has feelings for him. In the scene, Riku reflects on her relationship with Fushimi and how she is now comfortable discussing her interests with her friends. She senses that the gap between her and Fushimi is narrowing. When her friend asks if she is visiting Fushimi and where she plans to go with him, Riku confirms, expressing her desire to spend time with him and finalize some plans. She finds it troublesome to visit crowded sightseeing spots and considers outdoor locations instead. Riku's friend suggests a scenario where Fushimi asks her to hold his hand so they won't get separated. She gets embarrassed and denies that such joyous moments will happen. The following scene shows a boy approaching from behind them, causing Riku to be surprised by his sudden presence. Kana addresses him as Rai, prompting Riku to inquire if she is acquainted with him. He introduces himself as Sumizome Rai from Class 4, and she responds with the greeting. He comments that she is cute like a squirrel. Kana calls him a Komuka ghost, known for being excessively frivolous. He mentions it's like a manga where Fushimi positions himself in front of her, warning Rai not to approach. Rai cheerfully comments on how cool her boyfriend is, but she quickly clarifies that Fushimi isn't her boyfriend. Surprised, he asks if it's okay for him to pursue Riku, leaving her stunned. Kana intervenes, telling him not to tease her as she isn't accustomed to this. He casually reassures her that he won't harm her and asks for her phone number, slyly mentioning his fondness for cute girls like Riku. In the scene, Fushimi arrives and inquires if Riku plans to stop by the shop that day. She assures him that she will. Suddenly, Rai exclaims, "There he is, the hero we've been talking about." He then questions whether they are truly not dating because they appear to be in a relationship. Riku is surprised and informs him that she is just a regular customer at his shop, nothing more. He asks what kind of shop it is, and when she mentions it is a coffee shop, he expresses his desire to visit. She looks to Fushimi for confirmation and he says it's fine. Then Rai expresses his genuine interest in getting to know her. As they walk together toward the cafe, Rai mentions the charming cafes near the school and offers to show her one if she's interested. He also asks about the middle school she attended, revealing that he's from Seiku. Fushimi went on ahead expressing the urgency of opening the shop. Noting the duration of their walk, he asks Riku if they have reached the cafe yet. She confirms their arrival, pointing to an old building, and he comments on its scruffiness, provoking Riku's anger. Rai appears let down as he expresses his opinion that the cafe is supposed to be stylish, but he finds it dull. Upon opening the door and inspecting the interior, he remarks that it looks outdated and wonders if it's the type of place where a large crowd gathers. Riku disagrees, insisting that the coffee is excellent. Rai mentions that he doesn't drink coffee and asks if they have strawberry chocolate frappuccino. Riku responds by stating that it's not a Starbucks, so they don't have it. Rai then decides that he will have milk tea as he prefers milk and sugar. He mentioned that he was surprised to hear that Riku enjoys coffee, and she looked at him in disbelief. He clarified that if visiting coffee shops was her hobby, she should consider checking out some nicer and more charming ones. Riku pondered whether he meant it negatively, as it seemed like he was mocking the shop. He asks Fushimi if his parents are the reason he works at the coffee shop, to which he responds that he works there because he wants to, and he has an affinity for vintage cafes like Yanagai. He casually remarks that he doesn't understand it and having a fashionable, well-known cafe instead of an outdated one looks cooler. Riku presses her fist against the table, trying not to lose her temper. Riku interrupts the scene and tells Rei that he shouldn't make statements like that, or others might think he is making fun of the shop. Rei doesn't deny it but agrees that he is making fun of the cafe. He says cunningly that he hates old-fashioned places like this one. Rei adds that everyone should be sickened by these old shops because of their dusty interiors. He can't stand the feeling of old things, which makes him feel depressed, and he thinks there is nothing great about them. Riku tells him that he shouldn't have said something like that and reminds him that he was the one who wanted to visit this shop. He replied shamelessly that she looks cute when she's angry. Fushimi watches silently as Riku becomes angry. She tells him not to try to change the subject. He comments on how her cheeks look puffy when she's angry. He drops his school card on the floor, not noticing it. He says that he should leave, and in case Riku wants to mail him, he leaves his contact number, to which Riku replies that she won't. He teases her again, and Fushimi watches silently. In the next scene, Fushimi has Rei's card and asks him if it is his. Rei becomes shocked, instantly grabbing it from him and asking if he saw his card. Fushimi and Riku are surprised and ask him if his actual name is Raizu. Rei responds disgustedly, telling them not to call him that as he puts his hands over his ears. Fushimi then asks him if he's from the Sumizone Shrine, which makes him even more uncomfortable. He thinks his surname is unusual, which leads him to think only of the Sumizone Shrine. Riku says that it's so cool, which startles him. She continues, saying that his name is cool and that he's a member of the Sumizone Shrine, which makes her jealous. He said that he didn't understand how anyone could like a strange name that sounded like that of an old man. It was so pathetic. She responded that it sounded very strong and manly. She added that it was graceful and divine, and she liked it. Suddenly, he slipped into a flashback, remembering a boy who had taunted him, asking if he was from the Sumizone Shrine. The boy explains that there they wear weird hats and pray, saying that his name sounded so lame and old. He tells Riku that she shouldn't say something like that so carelessly, and he tells her that she is foolish for thinking that way. She becomes aggressive and says that he doesn't need to be rude, especially after she has complimented him. Fushimi then addresses him, giving him a coupon for 1 free cup of coffee. When Rei mentions that he doesn't drink coffee at all, Fushimi says he would make him a special milk tea. Rei asks if that is okay. Fushimi says that it's fine with him because he prayed at the Sumizone Shrine for his shop to prosper. Rei looks at him and tells him that their god should be thanked, not him. He turns to go and says he will take it, but then he abruptly stops to tell Fushimi that Riku is a very good girl, asking if Fushimi agrees. He hints that he has taken an interest in her. When Rei tells Riku that he will wait for her to call, she responds that she won't. Rei compliments her again, commenting that she reacts like a squirrel and that it is quite cute. As he watches Riku with appreciation, Fushimi seems to be reflecting on what Rei has told him about his interest in her and how his chance to be honest with her is being stolen away. In the next scene, Fushimi is standing in the kitchen with his mother. While sipping his coffee, he tells her he'll go out today. Surprised, his mother asks if he's going with any friends. He remembers his conversation with Rei and what he said about Riku. His mother, teasingly, asks if he's going out with a girl. He changes the subject by asking about the compress, internally, admitting that he is going with a girl, and then takes his leave. In the next scene, Rei bombards Riku with a flurry of text messages, each one more persistent than the last. She glances at her phone, annoyance bubbling beneath the surface as she sees his name flashing repeatedly on the screen. Since they exchanged numbers, it feels like he has been messaging her non-stop, and today she can't deal with it, so she resolves to ignore him. Riku takes a deep breath, trying to focus, determined not to let his relentless texting distract her. Fushimi approaches from behind, scaring her. He asks if he made her wait long. Riku responds, assuring him that he didn't. She is amazed at seeing him in casual clothes. He mentions that he had trouble recognizing her because she looked so different in casual clothes. She hesitantly asks if she should have worn clothes that are easily recognizable. He replies, no, and adds that the casual look suits her, assuring her that he'll recognize her next time. Hearing his compliment makes her feel embarrassed. They arrive at the shrine, and Riku takes in the surroundings, commenting on its significance. She expresses her awe, commenting on how peaceful and sacred it feels, as if her heart is being cleansed. Fushimi observes her quietly, noting that she switches to polite speech when she gets excited. Fushimi mentions that this is a shrine dedicated to marriage. She responds by saying she'd like to visit other shrines as well, including the one dedicated to the god of luck. She innocently worries that he might believe she has ulterior motives and fears she could face a curse if she gives in to any immoral desires at the shrine. Her imagination spirals as he calls her and offers directions. Riku loses her footing, and Fushimi quickly catches her, holding her tightly against his chest and asking if she's all right. She feels flustered and apologizes for slipping. He responds that the area is slippery and tells her to be careful. She admires his kindness as he holds her hand to prevent her from falling again. They soon come across a spot in a temple that offers fortunes, and they decide to get their own. Riku asks if he received his fortune. He replies, yeah, and asks if she's waiting for him. She suggests they check their fortunes at the same time. As they open their fortunes on the count of 3, Riku discovers that her ticket reveals little luck, while Fushimi finds that his indicates regular luck. He reassures her that there's nothing bad written. Riku feels relieved to hear this. However, Fushimi notices a small note on Riku's fortune slip warning her to be cautious in her romantic life. Just then, her phone rings, and she becomes irritated when she sees that she has received a message. Fushimi asks if something is wrong, but she denies it. He tells her that he doesn't mind if she wants to reply, yet she insists that it's not important right now and she can respond later. They explore different areas of the shrine, but her phone continues to ring. Finally, he encourages her to check her messages, but she insists it's not urgent. He wonders who could be messaging her so persistently, saying it might be something important. She brushes it off, saying it's unlikely to be urgent if it's from Rei. Shocked, he asks if it's Raizu. She responds that he is the one who keeps contacting her and blames herself for giving him her phone number in the first place. Hearing this makes him feel nervous. Riku tells Fushimi that she previously informed Rei that she would be spending the day with him and wouldn't be able to respond to his messages. As she is about to message Rei to let him know she can't respond, Fushimi suddenly grabs her and tells her not to reply, surprising himself with his own action. He insists that if she responds, Rei will just keep messaging her again. After thinking it over, Riku agrees. Fushimi feels confused and uneasy. Knowing she's messaging, Rei makes him uncertain. The thought of her being with someone else while she's with him unsettles him, and he wonders why he's feeling this inner turmoil. Riku calls out to him, excited to show him something amazing, asking him to come over to her. He realizes he needs to push his worries aside and tells himself that on a day like today, he shouldn't dwell on things that make him feel down. Riku notices that the sun is setting quickly while Fushimi stands beside her with his hands in his pockets. As they stroll down the street, he remarks that it is winter, and she shivers from the chilly breeze. Fushimi asks if Riku wants to visit a place he's heading to. Curious, she asks where, and he explains it's a coffee shop owned by an acquaintance, where he needs to pick something up for his dad. He adds that the shop has a vintage charm, much like their own, and she'd probably enjoy it too. Riku becomes very excited at the prospect of going there. When they arrive, she is immediately captivated by the beauty of the coffee shop. It has vintage architecture and is adorned with lovely white flowers all around. Fushimi casually announces his arrival as he opens the door. Riku observes his relaxed demeanor as if he's been here many times before and feels optimistic. She thinks that being invited along suggests that they're getting closer. Suddenly, a stunning girl appears, sternly reminding Fushimi to pronounce his name correctly each time he visits. Riku is taken aback when the girl calls him Ai-chan, leaving her stunned. Fushimi seems to be deeply analyzing his feelings for Riku. He feels a strong urge to protect her because she seems so innocent and pure, but he isn't sure how to label this feeling. Then, Rei appears. He compares Riku to a squirrel, noting that she is cute and short, which irritates her. Fushimi realizes, thinking she's incredibly agile like a squirrel.